Welcome to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. We appreciate you spending some time with us. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alain Kornhauser. Hi, Alain.
Hi. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning. Well, turning to the Smart Driving Cars newsletter, on top, a post from our friend, futurist and author of the book Future Perfect, Chunka Mui. It's titled, Don't Fall for the Hype or Hysteria About ChatGPT. Don't be complacent either. He writes, if you're trying to decide how to invest in generative AI and ChatGPT, take special heed of Amara's law. We tend to overestimate the effect of a technology in the short run and underestimate the effect in the long run. Alain, you've been watching this unfold really for a long time.
Yes, I've been watching it unfold and in some sense participate in some of it. And now I actually have my youngest daughter, Laura, actually involved in it with a startup. So, I have, I watch it somewhat closely. Yes, very interesting. But my goodness, the hype. Cut it out. And I don't know. I mean, look, it can do good things, but don't get overly excited about it. My sort of latest take on it, it's especially for those who teach or in education, who might be listening to this. We went through this before. This is Groundhog Day. This is deja vu all over again. We went through this with calculators. Okay, I mean, when calculators hit the education scene, oh my goodness, are we going to allow them to have calculators in exams? Are they allowed to use calculators? Oh, they'll forget what 2 times 2 is, and so on. And somehow we kind of got over it. And yes, calculators are good. They really are. But in fact, I'll make the argument, since those of you who realize that I'm crazy will then say, hey, I got really crazy. My slide rule was actually better than my calculator. And the reason is that when I looked at the solution, the answer on my slide rule, the tick marks around it also gave me the variation, the sensitivity of the darn thing. The darn calculator, what does it do? It has who knows how many digits out there that it gives you the precise answer that now, pollutes your brain with all these numbers, to which only at best the couple over on this side have any meaning. In most situations, the rest is noise. It doesn't matter. I mean, yes, in some cases, I want to nail it. Ba-boom. Okay. But in most other cases, especially in any cases dealing with human to human whatever, we aren't precision instruments. We're sort of out there. And we want kind of the good answer. We don't need all this other junk out there. And it's so that, in fact, I'm not so sure how much better the calculator is than the slide rule. And then I really became good. I mean, I was generating energy on mine. My mine was made out of aluminum, and as it slid back and forth, it heated the world. I'm probably the cause of climate change. I mean, seriously. I mean, really? This is all knowing? What? God actually fed the data into this thing? The pristine data that trained it? No. And who knows what crap went in it to get out of it. Oh, used all of it. Oh, get out of here. Fred, you're human. I think, aren't you? I mean, I can't prove it. I mean, we could
I'm
all be
checking my pulse here. I think.
yeah, we could all be brains in vats. You know, we could be. I mean, I can't prove my existence. However, you know, you have how many sensors on your body? How many rods and cones that then go and provide information in your brain? Every at least 20th of a second or whatever it rates. The amount of information that has gone into your brain over you're a young guy, whatever. Compared to this, cut it out. I mean, the ant that's out looking for food is smarter. I don't know. I mean, yes, it does some cute things. But the problem with you know, on that, you don't know where it's coming from. And you don't have the opportunity to really ask them and look them into the eye, look at it in their eyes and see their body language and decide whether or not they don't know what they're talking about and they're making it up, or whether they really do know.
Well,
So
you have to wonder too, Alan, when it comes to the different flavors of AI that are out there, that will be out there, whether some, like media today, is divided, it's skewed one side or the other. Are we going to be seeing the same thing with these tools?
But of course you are. They're all biased. We're biased. You're biased. Everybody's biased. Why we buy? We're biased by our experiences. We haven't experienced everything. We've actually experienced some stuff that we don't even know where in the heck it came from, that influenced us, that whatever, that we then try to hide, So on a personal to personal basis, we're used to dealing with differences and we adjust to it. We now have an entity coming in where we don't know where it's coming from. And we don't know what changed it. Oh, it's Microsoft in there. I mean, Bing. Who uses Bing? Nobody. Why? Because, I mean, whatever.
Well, they're looking to gain traction with it. One thing I did, Alan.
Gain traction. What? It's all hype. It's all marketing. It's all. I don't know. I'm just discussing. And
it is interesting. Our mutual friend and Princeton alum, Brian Taylor, great basketball player. I saw him recently and showed him what ChatGPT, or I think it was Bard in this instance, which is Google's flavor, said about him. And 50% of it was true. 50% of it came from who knows where. It said he went to Harvard. It said he wrote books, neither of which is true. So I was making a point in showing him where things stand today.
Yeah, I think Bob Vanderby went into one of those things, and didn't know he existed. Okay, fine. Yeah, that's the point. You don't know where it's coming from. I go pull somebody off Cleveland Lane, walking their dog, and say, "Hey, tell me about Bob Vanderby," and they'll tell me who next he. Okay, that's fine. But then to put this out here that somehow, whatever, hey, if it's replacing somebody's job, that job should be replaced because in some sense it's brain dead. Okay. I mean, the thing that we went through in the Industrial Revolution is we replaced some of this power and gave it to machines and energy and caused the environmental problems. Okay. That's what we did. Okay. We got these computers here that allowed us to to add two numbers and multiply them and take their exponentials and who know arctan of the inverse of whatever. Well, great, do it for me. Okay, thank you. Okay, we got a printing press that allowed put something so you can read. Thank you. Okay, we'll use that. Okay, it'll keep we unemployed who knows how many scribes. We develop Excel. Do you know how many MBAs Excel unemployed? Oh my goodness. So, sure. I don't know. It's fine. It's nice. It doesn't deserve the hype. Okay. It's
And we're
artificial
hoping
hype.
that Chunka, who wrote the piece that launched this discussion, will be joining us in the
Yeah,
not too distant
we'll
future.
discuss it. And yes, you do have to, in the long run, it will be useful. Sure, the calculator turned out to be, dojo, 10 to, exaflop 10 to the 18th, instructions per second. Whoa. I can't even think of how big of a number 10 to the 18th is. Thank you, I guess.
And not to mention what's in your pocket, and that's running on an app on your iPhone, not even
Yeah, but this thing,
right.
this thing, the main reason Elizabeth and I had Helen go to St. Andrew's School is because the ethos there said you get this at best, between 10 and 10:30 at night. Otherwise, it's not here. We're here to educate you people to people. Finally, schools are saying don't bring them to school. I guess mothers and I can't communicate with my child. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's just for what? See a
Well,
couple,
we managed to
cat
grow up
videos.
we managed to grow up without them. So
I don't. Maybe I didn't never grew up. Maybe look. I mean, just yes. Okay. Maybe.
on we go, Alan.
I know.
Another deal for Mobileye.
Yeah.
It has announced a strategic collaboration with Porsche to use Mobileye's supervision-based system for advanced driver assistance. They have found their niche, it seems, Alan.
Yeah. Well, it's been somewhat obvious. They have a business case. They're out there selling the technology for advanced driver assistance and doing it through mostly image processing. And there are a number of folks out there that are, some, fantastic advancements that basically, now with the processing power behind it, will do basically ranging of objects to sufficiently good precision, 360 around the car with cameras, images, not LiDAR. Okay. I don't know. I've never been a fan. I've respected it, but I've never been I guess the reason why I wasn't a fan is because in the DARPA challenges, I couldn't afford one. So therefore we did it without one. And so Andrew Sachs wrote the code, for one stereo camera, shoot the gap, whatever, with who knows what kind of processing power behind it. And, it sort of worked. It just only sort of worked. I know it's got to work, but anyway, yes. And that's what Mobileye is doing. And I think addressing a market, and I've done essentially the proof of market to put technology in a vehicle that I drive that helps me be safer and be more relaxed and enjoy it more. Not to take me someplace, not to take my dog someplace, but for me as a driver. So that's 50% of the mobility problem, or the mobility challenges. Those that have access to a vehicle and have the license and can drive it, help them. The 50% that don't have access to the vehicle, still working on that. We'll talk about, addressing that other 50%.
Right. Teslarati, meanwhile, reports Tesla is making its driver monitoring more strict and robust, will even track drivers when their vehicles are not using autopilot. This is an interesting story because for a long time, one of the knocks on Tesla was that they weren't taking a look at what the drivers were doing.
Yeah, so for some time, a few years, they've been putting a camera that looks back at the driver. Okay. Now, I don't know what the privacy, whatever, and so on and so forth, and whatever that one has to sign for them to sit there and watch me. And this camera over here is sitting there on my computer all the time, and I have no idea who has access to that darn thing. I mean, I really don't. I guess they tell me really, unless I, if I do this, it really turns it off. Does it? I don't know. And people have Alexas in their houses. I mean, Tesla's had this in there. Now, what they've done with that, and they have the over-the-air updating communications. They made the decision way back that, in fact, putting the pipe into the car to allow two-way sending of information, maybe, and to do it all the time. I mean, GM's had it with OnStar, but I guess never really used it. Or maybe they used it, a GM research center, and it never saw the light of day. I mean, just like GM was working on airbags way before, Mercedes was the first to put it on the steering wheel, and then Chrysler, out of bankruptcy, decides to make a market out of it and allows itself out of bankruptcy with it. So maybe they've done a bunch of stuff, but to have that communications pipeline, the amount of information that they know about driver behavior, including all the jerks that do all the jerky, who knows what, show that we don't even want to talk about it here. They know. Now, I wish they'd share some of that with us so we would all know too. Or maybe it's so darn ugly, you're afraid to make it known. They know when you're not paying attention. They know when you're doing this. Where's my phone? And driving. They know. Now, whether or not they're going to take that knowledge and take the toys away and say, oh, no, you don't know. That's a tough thing to do. Because you're dealing with your customer. Yes, the customer has already bought the car. And in fact, because you improve it as it gets better over time, the likelihood you're going to trade that thing in and want to buy another one goes down. I mean, poor auto industry doesn't like that. That's why they don't do that. Because they want you, as soon as you buy one, to come in and buy another one. Right? I mean, it's only business. But no, but this is a customer. And in fact, because they don't advertise, I guess they're going to advertise now, but they don't advertise. Then because they don't advertise, their customer is really their road to the next customer. So they want to keep that person happy. But if you all of a sudden say that person goes sit in the corner and put a dunce cap on, I'm taking the toys away because you misbehaved. Do they want to be that kind of parent? Do they want to be in there nagging, hey, pay attention, put that phone down? Hey, what are they going to do? Like in Blues Brothers, you know, push you down the steps? I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. Look, if if Washington was really interested in safety, you know, we've had breathalyzers. We have governors for speed control. Uh, you know, you can put in things that basically grab the steering wheel and keeps you in the darn lane, and all that's been available. But the purchaser of a vehicle is a customer, and the customer, in some sense, has to be handled. That requires empathy and so on. All the things that I'm not good at. I mean, I just don't know anything about that stuff. Some people do, and I guess those people that do basically say, I guess, you know, we know you're drunk. We know you shouldn't be driving, but we're just going to let you do it. Now, if somebody comes in there and says, because you knew, because you had this on and you didn't, now you're liable. I don't know where we end up. And maybe that's what the courts have to do. That's what the legal system has to do. You know, maybe the ambulance chasers end up, you know, making the system a whole heck of a lot safer, because people realize we put this stuff in there and now we're responsible. Now we got to make it work. Now we have to deal with this customer differently. We should be discussing these things. They're very difficult. Let's ask ChatGPT what it thinks.
Alan, Elon Musk did an interview with CNBC this week after the Tesla shareholders meeting, and a few headlines from there, really, including his insistence that he'll continue to speak his mind on Twitter and elsewhere, even if it's detrimental financially. He also said working from home is morally wrong when service workers still have to show up, and there are a few headlines from that interview.
Lots of headlines in that. I don't know. As everybody knows, I'm a fan. Okay, I certainly don't like everything that he's done. And geez, who's perfect out there? My goodness. I mean, you know, nobody. Certainly, and you know, whatever. But I don't. I guess. Look, I prefer to deal with people that speak their mind, as opposed to give you a bunch of bull. You either get their mind or you get a bunch of bull. Which would you prefer? I'm over here. You can prefer whichever one you want. Okay.
There are those who say that he is not always straightforward in making predictions or promises about self-driving arriving 2 years ago, things like that. But he has an answer for that. Typically, you know,
my answer for
optimist.
My answer for that is, who can see in the future? Who? And if you could, you probably would, to say it, blow your brains out. Because life's not worth living if you know what's coming. There's no excitement in it. There's no whatever. I mean, God, when she made us, it is really good that she made us so that we can't see the future. I mean, what would all the people that are like, whatever, predicting what the stock market's going to do tomorrow? They're all unemployed, totally unemployed. Nobody's gambling. Nobody's watching a sporting match. What? Now you're going to go and say, somebody, look, you didn't predict the future right? When did you predict the future right? What, you had some, you tried to make something happen and it didn't? My failures are all over the place. So, back off.
One of the things he said in the interview, and he said it again, I suppose we could say, robotaxis will launch by the end of this year, maybe next year. Michael McGrath at Seeking Alpha had a piece contending that that's unlikely to happen. And you had a few comments there.
Whatever. Well, look. What does it mean, launch robotaxis? Okay, we'll talk in a minute. Let's talk about it now. What Cruise and Waymo are trying to do in San Francisco. Be able to put a service out there, a mobility service, 24/7, for which they can charge someone for riding it and make a business out of it. So of course, if robotaxis, to get over the hump of the who knows what's that prohibit you from going into business to provide a mobility service 24/7, which if you look at what the public transportation system in San Francisco does, including the cable cars, they don't operate 24/7. They go home and go to sleep. They rest. So in case if anybody should want to go anywhere, what are you supposed to do? And unfortunately, these two companies get nothing but bad press for trying to provide mobility out there. Now, we don't know what they're going to charge for this. I don't think at least I haven't seen it. But, it's just terrible. So, yes.
That's
what
going to be before
Elon's
the
idea?
California Public Utilities Commission is deciding probably next month, the end of next month, on them being able to charge for those robotaxi rides in San Francisco. So,
why is it taking them a month?
comments?
Do they have to get their latte and their donuts? What?
But as you point out, the TechCrunch piece said more or less, despite all of the clamor about the problems, et cetera, vehicles stopped, that this vote is going to be taking place. So
the vote's going to be taking place, and I guess really they're going to say no, you can't. Okay, fine, San Francisco.
Right.
Fine, don't go downtown. Who wants to go downtown anyway? The people that really need the mobility and need affordable mobility aren't downtown unless they're the homeless.
Right.
And they should have
to this,
service.
Alan. Related to this, our friend Brad Templeton has a piece in Forbes headlined "Robotaxi Zone: Can It Replace Your Car?" It talks about Waymo's expansion in Arizona, providing, he says, now 10,000 trips a week.
Yeah, and I think it's great is that we are at the beginning and we are at 10,000 trips a week. And as I've commented on that one is that they're doing a proof of technology. The technology works, at least there. Whether they're doing a proof of market, whether or not they can put a service out there and get customers to pay for that service and make it a business, that's the question. Okay, and it's not a 10,000 person trips a week is nothing. it is something, it's an accomplishment, it's great, but it's not a proof that there's a market. It doesn't seem to be a clamoring for, hey, the things, phones ringing off the hook. I guess they ring off the hook. Is ringing off the hook that we want service. We want to go from A to B. Please take us. Here's the money. That's what they need to show. Okay. In San Francisco, I mean, they've been out there offering rides for free. And I don't know, I haven't heard of the clamoring. Because if there was clamoring, somebody would say to the newspapers, hey, cut the, this thing works. I love it. It took me, I was able to go out to dinner and have 2 martinis. Yes, I'm somewhat of an alcoholic. It took me home. Thank you. Where are those stories? They have to be there. Starbucks, people say, hey, yeah, I want to go get a latte and pay for it. They don't go to Starbucks and then say here in New Jersey and say, hey, New Jersey DOT, you have to provide a $52 subsidy so I can buy this latte for $7. These things, when you look at it, the places that they're operating, unless you get to a productivity level and with all the gizmos on there, it's $60 a ride. Now, if I'm going to the airport and it's putting on my expense account, maybe. But what these things need to do if they're going to be successful is they need to be used. That means that the customer has to think that when they use that, it is the best thing for them to use. It's better than the cable car. It's better than Mooney. It's better than BART. It's better than walking. It's better than, I don't know what the bus service is called there, whatever. It's better than my Lamborghini. I don't have a Lamborghini.
Well, we've talked about this before. It's finding the disruptive market, and you've suggested exactly where that is.
I've suggested where I think one of those are. And if Elon really wants to do robotaxis, he should probably be looking at that market. Okay. Maybe you can do it by Airbnb your Tesla. Okay. The challenge with Airbnb a Tesla as a robotaxi is that I buy a Tesla, I use it likely in the peak. Therefore, it's not available for Airbnb during the peak. It is available during the troughs when all the other ones are available. And there aren't that many people to take. So if I do a robo-taxi service, my fleet size is scaled to the peak demand. And that's why, it's just like an elevator. The off-peak service is substantially better than the peak service. Why? Because I have all these vehicles laying around that I needed for the peak. They're just available. I can just hop on, take. I walk into a building, there's an elevator waiting at the ground floor for me to hop in and go. In the off-peak. In the peak, this elevator is like taking a bunch of people, stopping on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 8th floor. And by the time it comes back down, unfortunately, because the handle mobility is a demand that is not only diffuse in this 3-dimensional space of A and B and time, but is also, that time thing is also enormously peaked. If it was flat, it'd be trivial. I mean, you spread the traffic over 24 hours a day, no problem. Okay. But it's not. Why? Because that's not what the customer wants. Transit systems forever said they put service out there. Here it is all over, come to me. And what made the car superior was, oh my goodness, if I buy one of these things, it's no longer come to me. This thing it responds to my needs. Now, all of a sudden, with these robotaxis, we have the opportunity to respond to the need. And if we respond to the need, we're going to have to hit the peak and serve the peak. And that's going to be our fleet size. And the only way we're going to be able to reduce that fleet size is if hey, maybe you could share too and not be like Lyft.
That was our next headline, Alan.
Go,
Lyft officially
go.
discontinuing shared
we
rides.
choreographed it this morning, Fred. Go.
And you had some comments about that. Lyft officially discontinuing shared rides.
Not at all surprising. But you can't have a sign at the airport like shared rides here. They're not shared rides. They never have been. Nobody ever liked those. Drivers didn't like them. Why? Because one of the customers wasn't as happy as they could be because somebody else was in there, even though they got a discount. The people that they're serving at airports don't really care about the discount. And so therefore, the customers they're serving don't like it. They get less tip. And if you looked at the revenue share, you ask yourself, Uber, Lyft, you're not sharing the revenue properly. You're not allowing the driver to get, maybe 1.5 times what they, I don't know where they ended up, but the algorithm wasn't good. And so you have all these forces against you, and then the driver never wanting to offer that kind of service because they don't want to waste their time with that. If you had a computer doing this, you tell the computer what to do, the computer does it. Here, Uber and Lyft have to be nice to the driver. Otherwise, the driver will walk. Tell them, find somebody else to go pick up your customers. You're not paying me anything anyway. So all of a sudden, they're in. So ride sharing, it was exceedingly. I mean, looking at the New York City data, I mean, you couldn't find one.
And there wasn't a lot of clamor for it even before COVID. And I think COVID certainly had an impact there too. Fewer people wanted to ride with others.
Of course, nobody wanted to do that. Nobody really wanted to use Uber and Lyft, and they, all the made you wear masks and all that stuff and so on and so forth. Of course, yes, but no,
right.
No, it doesn't work in the dynamics of the key entities in this, which is the driver. And so Uber and Lyft drivers are always going to be available for the folks who want to be chauffeured with a person who can help them with their bags and then can help them with all this stuff and all the things that they need, even with the most optimistic concept of a robotaxi service. Okay. So yes, but my goodness, being able to now readily dispatch, have sitting vehicles available for folks to just get on and be taken close to where they are. As soon as they get the technology to work, there's a business there. 50% of the people wanting to travel this instant of time, and every instant of time, throughout the 24 hours don't have access to a vehicle. They either can't drive, they have to rouse their parents out of bed to go take them someplace or who knows what, or their children out of bed, or their spouse out of bed, or whatever, out of whatever they're doing to be chauffeured, or, 2 or 3 of them sit and wait for a bus. 3% of the trips, person trips that are non-walking in the United States are done on mass transit. Half of them right around here in New York metropolitan area. Totally niche business. The other 97% done by cars. And in some sense, half of those are done by, Elizabeth doesn't like me to use the term, bumming a ride. I don't know, it's just what it is.
We know where the market is.
We know where the market is. The market,
deploy.
and there's another story out there. I don't think we relate to it about I guess Uber going to provide service to minors, unaccompanied minors. I think unaccompanied minors find the way to take Uber. It seemed to me a bunch of kids go to Princeton Day School here in Ubers, and they're minors, and they go by themselves. I think, I don't know. I guess drivers, don't pay attention. They probably don't because they probably get it. I don't know, whatever. But my goodness, talk about a group of folks, the 10 to 18-year-olds who are chauffeured around by their parents every day. Elizabeth and I were walking in Chardon, Ohio yesterday or 2 days ago. Walked by a school. I said, my goodness, this is like Princeton. All the kids get chauffeured to school by and dropped off. The average vehicle occupancy, I like to say, in Princeton in the morning before school and in the late afternoon after school is less than 1. Why? Because there's an entity driving a car out, pick them up, and take them home. Average vehicle occupancy 0.5 for that movement, for that tour. And you look at all the other tours in Princeton. Oh my goodness, it's less than 1. But that's not just Princeton. La-di-da. It's Chardon, Ohio too. I mean, what? But of course, what percentage of the kids at these schools walk, take the school bus, or get chauffeured? Each school knows. I guess some of them might provide parking for the seniors. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Heck, when I went to school, well, there were only a couple of kids that had cars because nobody, we weren't even rich enough to have a car in the family. So, whatever, never mind. I don't want to talk about that.
A couple of other headlines to get to, Alan. Jalopnik has a headline that reads, even investors seem bored of autonomous cars. It says the money is drying up, leaving only the diehards left.
Yeah, because it's been a techno jerk, proof of technology. Investors want proof of business. Why are they investing? Because they want to make money. Some of them invest because they want to, solve a societal problem. I'm not being fair. But nobody's out there proving that you can make a buck on this. And no investor is going to go, hey, I'm going to invest in you, and then you're going to chase $1 out of Washington. Because, my view of that is every Washington dollar costs you two. So, nobody's now in the advanced driver assistance systems. Absolutely.
What Mobileye and some others are doing. Right?
Sure. They have booked business. NVIDIA has booked business. Not to provide mobility, which is what we're desperately trying to provide to some folks, but to provide comfort and convenience and maybe some safety, but not tell me what to do, I don't think. Not say, put that phone down. I don't know. We started with that. I'm not sure where we are on that. That is such a tough one.
Talk about dollars from Washington, Alain. National Defense reports that the Army is pressing forward with an autonomous vehicle transport system. We'll be putting out a request for proposals later this year.
Yeah, and they've started putting some money out on that, but that's a customer. That's a customer with a challenge, with a process. I mean, one of the things that you have to feed troops. You have to feed them. You have to clothe them. You have to give them ammunition. That's all. I mean, logistics is all about making sure Napoleon's army doesn't freeze to death. Didn't do such a good job there. Whatever. Never mind. We won't go there either. And so they have a challenge. They have a real challenge. And my goodness, why do you have a bunch of corporals who can drive trucks, but maybe you need them in other places that more. And my goodness, if something's going to happen to that truck, you hope they're not there. And that's what got us to this. That's one of the DARPA challenges, where Advanced Research Projects Administration got us to the point where we're at today. Why? Because they saw it in 15, almost not getting to 20 years ago, and they still want to do it. And there's a business there to do that. Just like there's a business off road in farms, in mines, in ports, in warehouses. And where's automation? It's not autonomous. Nothing's autonomous. Never mind. Automation really flourishing in those places, plus in the advanced driver assistance systems. And there, I think it's gangbusters.
We've been talking about Mobileye, and there's a conference coming up in Israel where they are certainly a force. The EcoMotion week is coming next week.
Yep, and I'm going, and hopefully get to chat with them and see what we can do.
It should be a very interesting conference.
Yep. It should be my first visit to Tel Aviv, and whatever. It'll be nice.
And we want to remind people that the Princeton Smart Driving Car Summit, which we had hoped would be this month, is postponed kind of indefinitely, but stay tuned, as they say, for more info.
It is postponed, but I've pivoted. So instead of being in Princeton, I'm going to be in Tel Aviv. I mean, I couldn't be a happier camper.
Very interesting. So you can find us, more information always at smartdrivingcar.com. Also on Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon, Apple, Google, wherever you turn to for podcasts. Smart speakers can play us too. You can find my tech reports at textination.com. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Alain Kornhauser. Thank you for listening or watching. Continue to stay safe and have a great weekend.
Thank you.